Well, we're here. 11.4 is the very last section of algebra. You guys, you did it. You've gone through every single section of algebra, and you worked hard these last few months. I know it hasn't been easy. This is super bittersweet because I'm excited to be done, but at the same time, I miss you all so much. Here goes nothing. All right, so adding and subtracting rational expressions. Basically, we've got fractions. We're adding and subtracting fractions. Remember, to add or subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. When we have a common denominator and we're adding, all we have to do is add the numerator. So notice how the denominator is already the same. So we just have to do y plus 1 plus 5. Well, when we do that, what I can do is I can combine my like terms. So I get y plus 6, and then remember my denominator is still 2y. I cannot reduce because there's not a y in everything and there's not a 2 in everything. So that is my final answer. When I move to the next one, I just do 2 plus 3. Okay, and remember my denominator stays the same, so it's 5x. Well, 2 plus 3, I can actually add that together. In this case, I've got 5 on both the top and the bottom. When I cancel those out, when I get 5 over 5, I get 1, which leaves me with just 1 over x. Now, sometimes we are going to have to subtract. And so when you do that, you just have to subtract the numerator. Okay, you see a common denominator already there. So I have x plus 1, and it just becomes 7 minus 8. So when I do that, I get a negative 1 over x plus 1, and nothing reduces, so that's my answer. Now, in this case, we actually have two terms, okay? So I'm going to change this subtraction, and I can go ahead and subtract it through, but I'm going to change this to addition, and then I'm going to go ahead and change all the signs I did behind, like we've done previously. Notice my denominator is still the same, so 2x plus 3. I'm going to do 3x plus 4, and then we're going to do plus a negative 5 or minus 5x. And then it would be minus a negative 11 or plus 11. Okay? So if that's the case, I need to combine my like terms. I've got 3x and a negative 5x. That gives me a negative 2x. I've got a positive 4 and a positive 11, so that gives me plus 15 over 2x plus 3. There's nothing I can factor out of the numerator. There's nothing I can factor out of the denominator. There's nothing I can cancel out of everything. So that's my final answer. Pretty simple. However, when we don't have a common denominator, we have to find one, just like we normally would. So I have to look at this and I have to say, okay, what numbers go into, or what numbers do 4 and 5 both go into? What's the least common denominator? In that case, it's going to be 20. They both go into 20. How many x's do I have? Well, I only have 1. Okay, so that is what my common denominator is going to be. What I need to do now is I need to get both of those fractions to have this denominator. So in order to get my 4 to have that denominator, I need to take it times 5x over 5x. Because I'm taking it times 1, it doesn't change. On the top, I get 25x. On the bottom, I get 20x. Now let's look at the other fraction. How do I get 5x squared, or 5x into 20x? Well, in this case, I just need to take it times 4. You're going to notice a lot of the time you're just going to multiply these here, and you're going to multiply the 5x here. Okay, so if I'm taking this top number times 4, 2 times 4 is 8, and 5x times 4 is 20x. Now I have a common denominator. So I just add my terms together. 25x plus 8. Since one of them has an x and the other one doesn't, I cannot combine those terms. Since not everything is divisible by 2, I can't take it 2 or 4 or whatever out of anything. So that's going to be my final answer. Let's move down now. Okay, so in this case, Notice this is a subtraction problem. I've got 7 and 3. My least common denominator here is going to be 21. Okay? How many x's do I have to have? Well, since there are 2 here, I need to have 2 x's total. So in order to get this 7x to 21x squared, I need to take it times 3x. And that means I need to take the top times 3x as well, because it's taking it times 1. 6 times 3 gives me 18 with an x. On the bottom, I do get 21x squared. Now, I can absolutely reduce this, but I don't want to reduce it because then I don't have a common denominator, okay? So how do I get 3x to 21x squared? I have to take it times 7. I don't have to take it times any of the x's. I just have to take, get rid of that. I just have to take it times 7. So that's going to be minus, that would be 14 over 21x squared. Okay, so I now have a common denominator. 21x squared is my denominator, and I'm going to get 18x minus 14. Now, I can take a 3 out of some, I can take a 2 out of some, but I can't take the same number out of all of them. So that's going to be my final answer. Okay. I guess you could factor out a 2 on the top, but that's not super necessary. All right, moving on. Now I've got 2 terms. And so what I want to do, actually we're going to go ahead and do the bottom first. So what I want to do is I don't have anything that's in common. Since this has 2 terms on it, it's a binomial. What I need to do is I just need to multiply them together. So d plus 7 times 4d is going to be my common denominator. But what I do need to do is I need to distribute. So that would be 4d squared plus 28d. Okay, so that is going to go ahead and be either of those technically will work for your common denominator. Again, this is going to be an introduction, and Algebra 2 you're really going to hit this hard. So on my denominators, I'm going to put 4d, d plus 7, and you could use either one of these. It doesn't really matter. Just be aware that you might see both. 4d, d plus 7 is my denominator. On the top, so on this one I need to do d plus 7 over d plus 7, and on this one I need to do 4d over 4d. Then I just need to distribute. So that's going to be 4d squared minus 20. And on the other one, we're going to have to actually FOIL it out. Okay, in order to combine my like terms, I do need to FOIL. So I'm going to do plus here. That's going to be d squared minus 35 minus 5d and plus 7d. Now I need to combine all my like terms. So since I now have a common denominator, we can use that on the bottom. And again, remember you can use either of the denominators. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to use the 4d, d plus 7 on the bottom. On the top, I'm going to do all my d squareds first. So 4d plus 1d would be 5d squared. Then I'm going to do just the d. So negative 5 plus 7, that would be plus 2d. And lastly, I've got a negative 20 and a negative 35, which gives me a negative 55. Okay, that is actually my final answer. Now, I can't factor anything out, and it's probably not going to be able to slide and divide, I'm assuming. 110, yeah. Okay, so on the top, nothing is in common, so I need to multiply both of them. It's actually going to be x plus 4 times x minus 7. Now again, we could FOIL that out. Don't really have to, so we're just going to leave it on the bottom. So I've got x plus 4 times x minus 7. On the right hand side, you need to take them both times x plus 4. And on the left, I need to take it times x minus 7. Okay, let's distribute my 3. I get 3x minus 21 plus 2x plus 8. I need to combine my like terms. So I have 5x. I'm going to do a negative 21 and a positive 8. I'm going to get minus 13 here over my denominator. And again, I could FOIL this out. I don't have to. X plus 4, x minus 7. There's nothing I can factor out. And so that's my final answer. Study tomorrow. Test the next day, and you're done. There you go, guys. Thanks for a great year.